Hi, this is Joed Lopez of joedlopez.com and Pimvisio.org. This presentation is titled You Are Your Brand, and it's for students who are looking to become more successful in college and trying to make the most of their opportunities by making the most of their own personal growth and development. So this title again is You Are Your Brand. And in this presentation, we're going to be covering the following things: broad strokes, elements of branding, the core elements, how branding can be used to help build a positive reputation on campus, which should unlock even more opportunities for you, and then also how to develop your brand for long-term success. So let's jump right in. Brand associations and audit. I'm going to be sharing with you 3 brands, and I want you to take a pen and paper or just take a mental note of the things that come to mind, just the first instant thing. Now, when I do this in person, when I'm speaking to students about this, I actually have them all yell it out. So if you want to just participate engaged fully, just sit up straight, have your shoulders back, get in a comfortable but also confident position, because only when you are making the most of this presentation can you get the most out of it. So here it is. Name me the first thing that comes to mind. Nike. What are some of the things that come to mind for Nike? Okay, how about this one? Young Money Entertainment. I think now it's YMCMB. Now, who is this person? So here's the exercise, the point of the exercise. A lot of times when we see this Nike logo, we think of sports, athletics, even excellence, championship winners, those kind of things. When we think of Young Money, we think of certain rappers, certain individuals, a type of music, a style of music. And then when I share this person, who is an individual, the first thing that comes to mind is Facebook, typically. So you should have caught that. He is very well known, more so in the past 5-10 years than ever, and he is the creator of Facebook and founder of Facebook. And so I think it's important that we'll highlight that when you see someone's face and the first thing you think about is their brand or something that they created, I think that's very telling to human psychology, that we associate people with things, or we associate people with a brand, or a product, or a character, or those kind of things. And so it's not too far off when businesses talk about branding that we actually and you actually think about people and students. As you as a student, what is your brand, and how do you shape your brand? Because I tell you what, Nike spends millions of dollars in shaping their brand and making sure that you have the proper image of them. Same thing with all the other products and organizations. And the same thing should be for you as a student. So, it's kind of like borrowing from marketing. You're putting your stuff out there, and you want to be received in a certain way. So this quote is saying, "You are the chief marketing officer for the brand called you, but what others say about your brand is more impactful than what you say about your brand." So it's one thing to know what you want to convey as part of your brand, or what I'm using as an analogy for your reputation on campus, right? It's one thing for you to say that you want to be known this way and be known for X, Y, and Z, but it's another thing that your friends or the people who are not friends but like are associates or acquaintances, and then you got the frenemies, who claim you're friends but they're not really your friends. It's you got to think about, how does that fall in line with what you're trying to convey? Is there a disconnect? And so people say, well, it doesn't matter what other people think about me. Well, in some, that's very true, and I would say 90% of 90% of that is true. But when in social settings, but when we're thinking about professional development, if you're in college and you want to set yourself up for networking with the dean of students or the president of the university, professors who are well connected in their industry, so that can help you up in landing internships and landing that first job out of college so that you don't have to worry about doing this, desperate search for a job, you better believe that what people say about you and think about you does have a significant impact, right? And it's unavoidable. So this quote is from Dan Schwab, and he's one of the gurus in marketing. And check his stuff out. And I think if you're interested in marketing in a deeper level, check what his work is all about. So you got to know your brand. So what do we have to say or know about a brand? There's three core elements, right? There's brand reputation, what other people think about it. There's actually the brand value of what you bring to the table in terms of what you offer, and then brand development. All right, how are you evolving? How are you monitoring your brand, and how are you trying to expand and grow its reputation and value, right? So those are the three core elements. And this is kind of like your true north of sense. Like this should be your compass of how to think about developing yourself professionally as a student. So let's take one piece and break it down. Brand reputation. We got two products here. We got Android mobile system for mobile phones, and we got Apple's iOS. I don't know which side you land on. I'm recording this on a MacBook. I got an iPhone 6 Plus. I love Apple, and some people can't stand Apple, right? So what are the reputations associated with that, right? You have the psychology of the brand association. It's almost instant, hard to break, very powerful, right? So when you go back to iOS or Google Android, if I've been a fan of Apple for so long, it's going to be really hard for me to convert to become an Android person, or vice versa. And when I see this logo, I'm going to have instant pain points of my experience with that, right? Even when I see this Android, the first thing I think about was all my apps crashing, like even YouTube crashing or Google Maps crashing all the time on my phone. And it's like, how can these Google apps be crashing so much on an Android phone, which is Google's platform? And that was kind of like my thing. So I kind of revert to those experiences. And how often is that for you, right? You have a bad experience with someone. Maybe it's a bad boyfriend or girlfriend, or a bad something happened in high school, or a friend betrayed you, and you might see that person, or you might see them on social media and see a picture posted up, and then boom, you're instantly brought back to that experience. That even happens to traumatic experiences too. That's something that's human psychology. You can't avoid that. And so while that's extreme cases, you got to really think about what that means for you as a student, what kind of reputation you're putting together, because once people say your name, there are certain characteristics that get associated with your name, okay? And it's hard to break. Once you get pegged as that type of person, it's really hard to break and undo that, and it's very powerful. So you have to really guard that and really hone in on that to make sure. And again, listen, I know who I'm talking to. We all know those friends who are at the parties who they just all the time have one too many drinks and they can't handle themselves. And so we just kind of like look at them when they're partying, kind of roll our eyes, like, oh, here he or she goes again, and they get pegged as that person. It's instant, it's hard to break, and it's very powerful. So you have to be cautious about what kind of reputation are you putting out there for your brand called you. One instant example, just to kind of bring it home, is body language, right? So that is, we always have these visual cues that has helped us survive as a human race, right? So, when we see someone who is really uptight, and they're clenching their fists and they're walking fast towards you, biology and evolution has told us in our gene pool that, hey, this might be a threatening situation. That's how we survived, all right? Our bodies are just meant to deconstruct body language as such for so many years. Well, the same is true in social settings. When you're in class and your professor is talking, and even if they're droning on, and you're on your phone or you're slouching and about to pass out, even though they're so boring, like that says something about your body language, and it says something to them that you don't care, that you're not engaged. Of course, yeah, they're boring, but that's still the image that you're sending out to them, and that's taking away from your brand reputation. So what does this mean for your impact? Well, when you ask for that extra credit, or when you ask for that, extension for the deadline for that paper, they're going to remember. Remember what I said? Instant, hard to break, very powerful. They're going to recall that, and they might not give that to you. They might not be able to work with you. That's a small example. So, body language is a big part of your instant reputation. When you walk in a room, how are you being perceived? So positive posture impacts your emotion. People size you up in 4 seconds or less, and it's not about being right or wrong. Like, hey, I'm an individual. I shouldn't be judged, or this is the way I am, and X, Y, and Z. Okay, that's not fair to people to judge, but there's a difference between being effective in terms of brand reputation versus being quote unquote right, that you should be who you are and not care about anybody else. Technically, you're right. Yeah, do you and be individual, but don't pretend like there's no consequences to that, and don't complain if you're not getting the results that you want when trying to connect with people, when trying to apply for jobs or apply for internships, and you're not getting the results that you want. You got to take ownership for everything, and that's so important for you as a student to learn now as opposed to later. So, word choice, not using a proper syntax, or, speaking properly, that's a big one. Even in your emails, all that builds into your brand reputation. So here's an exercise that I want you to do. Take about 5-10 minutes. You can pause this. And I want you to do the following. What are some of the feelings and characteristics you would like to be known for? So if you wake up on the perfect day, what would that be like for you? This is an example. I would like to be known as a leader who is, driven, passionate. I'm igniting excitement in other people, and I want to be a problem solver, or that kind of thing. What do you want to be known for? And how does that align with your strengths of who you are? So pause this right now. Seriously, don't just kind of skip right over this. This is part of that process I'm talking about. Remember, what you put in is what you get out of this. I'm not there next to you. I'm not there in front of you. But this is all on you, right? To get the most of this, you have to really be engaged. So pause this. Take away any distractions. I don't know. Take out your mobile phone. Put some, some classical music, or some electronic EDM music on to kind of help you focus. I know that sometimes helps me focus. And just spend 5-10 minutes on this activity, and come back and share with the person next to you, or even share with a friend. Hey, I'm doing this exercise. I want to be known as for these qualities and characteristics. What do you think? And share that with someone. And take that time to do it right now. So press pause and check it out. Okay. So if you're back, I'm assuming you did that exercise, and that should give you a framework for what you should be shooting for in terms of your behavior. All right. So if these are your values, then your behavior has to live up to your values. That's what your brand reputation is all about. What are your values, and your values shape your reputation. You are not a, it's so funny about this. When I was hearing this from a post the other day. You are not a good person for what you believe in, folks. You're not awesome because you just believe that you're awesome. You're awesome because of the things that you do. Awesome people who are leaders, people who get things done, are known to be successful for not what they believe in per se, but by how they behave. And how they behave was a choice that first came from their values. If I value being on time, I'm going to be on time. You live out your values. So don't tell me that you are you value time management when you're never on time for anything. Okay, so that's why it's so important that if you want to be known as a person who is going to do amazing work, and helping others, or going to be an amazing business professional, all those things, you have to know what the values are, and you have to live out in your behavior, and that's what brand reputation is all about. But you got to know your values first. All right, let's move on. Brand value, right? This is a older Old Spice commercial, and I always thought they were entertaining, but really didn't really do anything in terms of the value. right? Is all it did was try to get exposure and get you aware that the brand exists. But in terms of actually did it work, who really knows, right? So no matter the marketing budget, the product has to do what it claims, right? It's funny. You can spend a lot of money on Super Bowl ads, but if your product or service doesn't do what it says it's going to do, you're going to lose all that money. So you are the product. What is your purpose? What do you do? So you know what you stand for. You know what you want to be known for. You know what your brand reputation is going to be or is already. Now, how are you going to live that out? How can they be used to increase your brand value? So, think of this as something that you can offer or do that leverages your strengths and leverages your brand reputation. So this is your brand reputation in action. Okay, here's your brand value. So if you are a creative person, right? Man, I love writing. I'm creative. I'm an English major. I have no idea what I want to do after college, but man, do I love creativity and writing and that kind of thing. Well, if you want to be known as a writer, or you want to be known as someone who connects creative spaces together, then how can they be used to increase your brand value? Well, why don't you have a open mic, a community open night fundraiser event, right? So a lot of times, here's what happens for people who don't want to. They let other people build their brand value. This is what they do. They apply to places to showcase their value. So what do I mean by that? So if you're, let's say, a communication major, and man, you really want to be the editor of the school paper, the chief editor, and you have to apply and you have to do all this work, and it's not happening, it's not working out. They don't give you the time of day. Meanwhile, you're really, really busy, and you feel like you're missing out these opportunities. Well, guess what? If you have a certain brand reputation that you want to be known for on campus, and you're finding it hard to actually show what you can really do as a young professional, as a student, and you really want to make your mark, who says that you have to wait for someone else to give you that permission? You live in the most amazing country in the world with the most amazing technology in the world, and you can do it all on your own. So if you're a writer who's trying to submit all these things to other agencies or other platforms or other organizations that feature your work, whether it's on school campus or anywhere else, well, stop that or continue, but make sure you spend time on creating your own platform or creating your own opportunities. So why don't you host an event? Why don't you create your own paper? Or it could be even digital paper for your school and campus, and you hold your own event. So if this is the example I'm using, have a community open mic. And oh, by the way, if your brand reputation is to make a difference in the world, well, have this community open mic also be a fundraising event where you sell tickets for that event or hold raffles at that event. So and maybe that event has a theme. So it's all about saying, hey, this is my brand, this is who I am, and I'm not going to wait for someone else to tell me that I can shine, that I can show what I got. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to do it on my own terms, and I'm going to do it, in a way that's still collaborative, still professional, still, it's meaningful for other people and not just for yourself. But it really goes to show that you have something to offer, and you're going to do it on your own terms. And so that is what it's all about. That's brand value. Now, let's talk about brand development, right? So you know your brand, you know what you want to live for, right, in college and beyond. And now hey, I can do all these things on my own. I don't really need anyone's permission per se. I mean, if you have a podcast, just record audio on a phone and throw it up on SoundCloud and get a podcast. Now you can do amazing things with that on your own. Now it's like, all right, how can I get better now? A lot of times, if you wait for it to be perfect, you'll never get done. Progress is more important than perfection. All right, there's a lot of P's in there, right? Progress is more important than perfection. So here's a case in point. The first iPad that came out and the second iPad that came out, they're really close together. And the second version was totally redesigned and 9 times faster, and they offered it for the same price. Now, the Apple didn't wait to get to the second version to release it. They just released what they had. The first version was ready and they released it. Did they have this? Now listen, they were working both at the same time. They're working on both at the same time, but they knew that the first version was going to be, a really amazing product as it is, but it's going to be something that they're going to build on top of. So it was okay to release it the first version. So they said, here's a second version. It's going to be redesigned 9 times faster and for the same price, and they did it anyways, right? And some people were actually mad, like, man, I should have waited for the second version. But that's okay, because some people like to be part of that first beta group, right? So that's where your hardcore fans are a lot of times. So what does that mean for brand development? It's all about constant improvement, guys, and being the best. They didn't just say, hey, the iPad 1 was a success. Let's not even bother releasing iPad 2. Let's just keep on selling iPad 1s. Maybe build upon iPad 1 just a little bit, tweak it here and there, and then sell it and cover it as an iPad 2. No, actually, the iPad was redesigned altogether from the ground up. So that's the power of that brand development. They didn't fear a redesign or that level of improvement. So brand development, a lot of times this should be done in your sophomore year of college, but it's okay if it's a little later. But you should really get in your sophomore year. You should really start getting serious about your development. And one of the ways to do this is by using SMART goals. Now, when you're developing a product, you're constantly thinking about product development and milestones, and monitoring the project progress throughout the year. How many times have you heard about this rapper who delayed his album, right? Because sometimes, the things weren't happening in a time, he wasn't making use of his time, or he wasn't getting along with some of the producers, or those kind of things. A lot of times because they're not on a measurable, action-based, rewarding, time-bound plan, what we call SMART goals. So take a moment now to take one goal. If you had, but now to the end of the semester, or the end of next semester, what is one thing that you would like to do that would help build your brand value, and also sharpen your skill sets as a young professional, as a student? What would that be? Just take 5 minutes to do that, and I'll give you an example because we're using the community open mic, right? So it's going to be a specific goal. All right, I had this idea. I want to have an open mic community fundraiser by the end of the semester, where I want to have at least 20 people attend. I want to have at least 5 artists performing, and I want it to be about a cause that I'm passionate about. Let's just say it's for a topic of fighting human trafficking, right? That's something I did an event for in college myself. I want to be rewarding, so this is a fundraiser for that, and I want to have it all planned out, at least 2.5 months in advance, or a month in advance, right? So these are dates that I'm mentioning, right? So put a date on it. So if it's not specific, it's not measurable, it's not action-based, it's not rewarding or time-bound, it's not going to happen. So there's a study, and I'll leave this here with you before I move on. There was a study where they were working with inmates who were just getting out of the prison system, and they were trying to learn how to piece back their life together. And they did a study of 2 groups. One group were given assignments on how to better their life and get their life together, and one group was given the same assignment, but they were told specifically, all right, here's the assignment. Now before you start the assignment, which is due next week, tell me what time you're going to be doing it, where you're going to be doing it, and what kind of materials are going to be used to finish this assignment. And they found that it was about 86% of people who actually shared those specific details before even starting the assignment, actually completed it either early or on time than the group that just was given the assignment and that's it. So this goes back to again these are people who had traumatic experiences in prison or getting out, and they were kicking butt in terms of getting their life together because they used this system, right? So there's no excuse for you. You can really make this happen if you own it and say, hey, I am my own brand. No one's going to do this for me. I got to shape my own brand. I got to live out my brand values, and I'm going to do it and by developing myself using this system called SMART goals. So this is all you, and you can do it. Um, Here's some tips on how to really kind of make sure it's constant and consistent. How many of you guys set up a goal like New Year's, right, and then fall flat on your face with it with that goal 2 weeks into it? That happens all the time, right? So here's some things that help you becomes consistent with developing your goals. So write it down, like I said, be specific. Post it everywhere and anywhere. Make it the background of your mobile phone. Make it the wallpaper on your laptop. Listen to audiobooks that are on the topic. I know some of us are not really readers as much these days as in the past, but audiobooks is a great way. YouTube videos on how to, and then search, how to, throw an event, or how to invite people to a fundraiser, how to, whatever it is, put it on YouTube, and there's a lot of demonstrations and tutorials on how to do those things. And also, by the way, there's a lot of audiobooks on YouTube, if you don't know, and you can actually speed up the YouTube video so you can actually read faster technically with that. I've done that in the past. It's a shortcut to learning all this information. So check that out. And then also, here's like kind of like the secret sauce, or that X factor that's going to make you become even more successful. Meetup.com, or any type of social media group that meets in person, that covers similar topics or similar events. So if I'm into, again, doing a community service event or a fundraiser for using an open mic as an event, I'm going to try to go to meetup.com and join some groups on theater, on the arts, on performing arts, or even business ones on, like, fundraising or financing ones if you're looking to do a fundraiser for a cause. And so do a meetup.com. Don't just go to the clubs on campus. Go outside the campus and connect. You'll be surprised at how many people will be so impressed by you that you're going out of your way to connect with people and network outside your campus, and that you're an ambitious young student. Listen, now is the time to network, because once you graduate and you network, people wait till they graduate to network. Once you graduate and network, people look at you different if you ask for help. They look at you different when you ask for advice. Imagine me, a grown man, going up to another person asking for advice to a stranger about something that I'm passionate about. Sometimes it turns people off. Like, I don't even know you. You don't even know if I'm an expert or not. Why are you asking me this question? But when you're a student, people are so willing to help you out, and they give you so much. So take advantage of that and make the most of it, and then make sure you thank them too, and give them follow-up updates to show that you respect their input and followed up with them. So this is your brand development action plan, and put it into action. Be a doer. Don't just talk about it. Do it. And then again, like I said, some Google or Facebook groups are a big one. Start a mastermind group. I'm not going to go into this too much, but basically, if you know other students who are hustling, who are trying to make moves, you're not trying to graduate with all this debt and not have a job to show for it. You're trying to set up a portfolio of your development as a student, so that you get a job faster. If you know people who are hungry like that, who are not just trying to party and just skate by classes, then you need to connect with them and have them meet regularly. Maybe meet every 2 weeks, or meet monthly to discuss goals and goal progression. There's a study that shows that when you're working out with a buddy on the gym, you lift 20% more and do 20% more in terms of the weight, in terms of the repetitions, because you're surrounding yourself with a support in real time. So same is true with these kind of goals and branding development. You gotta set yourself up for success by using a positive environment and support group. So start a mastermind group, and you can YouTube how to do that. So it's all important. Never stop developing yourself. It's all about the technical things. This is also about your brand development. You have to build your brand. Use Gmail because they have a lot of great things that interconnect with each other. Because if you're going to be serious about that business, about that hustle, about making your life, better, because you want to build your brand as a person, as a reputation, then you got to get organized, right? You can't be about, you can't book a meeting with the president of your university to interview that person when you're late or you totally forget. They're not going to book it again most likely. So you have to be really careful about that. So what I like about Gmail is that it has all these different services that are connected. You got Google Calendar, you got Google Docs, you save your stuff online, and you have even a to-do list manager. Like Wunderlist is very powerful. Actually, I use Asana, ASANA. That's another great one. And just really be organized. Listen, I can go on about this stuff, but I want to keep in touch. Here's my website, joellopez.com. If you ever need help in trying to grow your brand or get some insights, please reach out to me, joellopez.com, lopezjoed@gmail.com. Hit me up on Twitter. I try to simplify my social media, so I'm on Facebook and Twitter only. I have my Instagram that's only like family stuff, personal related though. But please reach out. I love helping you guys, and if you want to learn more, or if you think this could be helpful to your club or to your organization or even at your school, I would love to come by and speak and share some of this stuff that can help you, and even sign you up for free coaching. Okay, that gets included with that. So hope to hear from you soon. Tell me what your project is. Actually, let's do that. Email me your goal. You set up a goal in this presentation. Email it to me. I'll review it. I'll give you some feedback, and I want to help you be accountable to that too. So share with me what came out of this, and if you liked it, I'd love to hear from you. All right, let's keep in touch. Be well. Bye.